What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash podcast. Today, we have another exciting guest, Alaukik, to discuss GRVT, an innovative hybrid infrastructure aiming to rebuild global finance through blockchain. Alaukik, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks, Brandon. It's a pleasure to be here and represent GRVT.
Awesome. Pleasure's all mine. To kick things off, would love to learn a little bit about yourself. I'm sure the audience would be familiar or interested in getting familiar with you as well. So, what's your journey been like, and how did you end up in the wonderful world of Web3 that we all love? And also, what kind of led up to GRVT?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. So I'm Alaukik. The first time I got into Web3, crypto, blockchain, you name it, was through this independent research. So I studied computer science in university, but I was interested in philosophy, and we had a philosophy professor who's interested in the philosophy of Bitcoin. And I went to a small liberal arts school, so you could always do these independent research seminars with professors. And I was very fascinated why he was doing research on Bitcoin. I had no idea what Bitcoin was back then. So we kind of like had this like three-person class. We would get together in his office. His name was Andrew Bailey, and we would talk about crypto and specifically the philosophy of crypto. So even before I got into like the computer science side of things of how cryptography is done or how blockchains are written, I first got interested into crypto through the philosophy of it. So I was more interested in the why first, and then I got to the how. And I think my main takeaway from that, one semester seminar was crypto has is solving three problems, like the coordination problem, the copy problem, and the credit problem. So what it meant for me is the coordination problem was very interesting because I did like the idea of distributed systems when studying computer science, and in blockchain and crypto in the crypto world, like the problem was that thousands of people could coordinate and add information to this piece of distributed ledger. And the copy problem was that even when many of these people are coordinating on a piece of information, this source of truth was tamper proof. And the credit problem was that crypto solved was no one could claim that they're somebody else, and no one could conduct false transactions. So this is kind of how I got interested in this. And the professor I took this class with later on went on to write this book called Resistance Money many years later. And the book is kind of popular in the crypto world at this moment. I won't go into the details of the book, but I would recommend everybody read it. But that's how I got interested in this field, and I was also interested in like programming languages, studying CS basically, and after school, I was always doing this kind of research, programming smart contracts on the side, and that's when I got introduced to Gravity. So I think Gravity was founded originally with the idea of solving the counterparty risk problem, and Gravity started uh, in the aftermath of FTX, where the exchange basically cheated a bunch of customers. And in the process of solving this counterparty risk, I realized essentially we were solving the three problems that I originally realized in university, which was the coordination problem, the copy problem, and the credit problem. But instead, the technology had moved way further. So by the time Graphy started, we came to scaling solutions for Ethereum. Uh, More specifically, we had ZK rollups. So what this means is you could do a bunch of transactions in the scaled version of Ethereum to dumb this down, and you could represent these transactions as a proof on Ethereum. So uh, basically, like what we realized is the technology has moved very fast, and we can build very interesting things on top of this uh, that has the possibility of mass adoption. Uh, so we realized, okay, there is a counterparty problem, and there's also all this very interesting infrastructure being built. So what can we do with this? So I think that's where the idea of Gravity came. And the idea was we are going to build an exchange that directly settles eventually on Ethereum. And the way we do this is for the user, they Gravity is supposed to feel like any other exchange. It can feel like Coinbase, it can feel like Binance or any of these big exchanges. But underneath, what's happening is every order that you make, you're actually signing with your keys, and they eventually get settled on chain as a ZK proof. So yeah, this was the idea of Gravity and how I came to start working here as product lead.
Yeah, I like what you guys are doing with Gravity. It's very fascinating, especially being able to do things like sign with your private keys and stuff like that. It must lend to like additional security and safety for users too, right?
Yeah. So I think security is at the forefront of Gravity. So we will only launch the exchange, or we will only make enhancements to the exchange when we consider it secure. So I think what we're trying to solve at Gravity is at the intersection of security and user experience. At the same time, building this exchange requires a bunch of other performance guarantees, but we'll get to that later. So in terms of security, like Gravity offers two layers of security. Uh, the first layer of security has been tried and tested, and it's been around the world for a very long time, which is basically your Web2 controls, like 2FA, like your passwords, that kind of stuff. So the way Gravity works is you sign up with you sign in with your Google, or like you sign in with your password. But once you go inside, you're given what we call a secure key. So we do not want to use terms like wallets or your MetaMask, or all of these different kind of terms that confuse people. We want Gravity to be usable by the average person who's never heard of a wallet before, or who's never interacted with a blockchain before. So in terms of security, what that means is you're assigned this secure key, and the way you sign your transactions is with biometrics. So you scan your face, and your biometrics kind of serves as like your private key without you really understand. Okay, this is obvious. It's not obviously a private key, but like I'm trying to explain this for the average person to understand. But essentially, only you can sign your transactions with your biometrics. And even if we want to, make transactions on your behalf, we cannot, because those transactions have to be signed by you, which means that we cannot be evil even if we wanted to. First of all, we do not have any intentions to be evil, but even if we wanted to, or even if there were problems or hacks in the system, it's not possible, because you can only make trades that you've signed with your secure key. And this secure key, uh, you can either use the one that we've built natively in collaboration with this company called Defense, or you can also use your MetaMask as a secure key. So that's kind of like the Web3 security side of things. So if you want to situate this in Chris Dixon's writing of read, write, and own, you read and write your data. So you, through your password, your Google credentials, however you sign in with Gravity, you can see your portfolio without really having to deal with this with your secure key. But if you want to conduct trades, or if you want to do any kind of action where where it tampers with your positions, with your trades, basically with your financial data, then you have to sign with your secure key. So that's the own side of things, which can only happen with your secure key. On the right side of things, there's obviously like a bunch of Web 2 things that need to happen. Like you need to do your KYC, you might want to change your profile photo. So all of this is like similar to the Web 2 world, where you can write data with your Web 2 credentials. So TLDR, like we have you know, two layers of security. One is the Web2 security, and the other one is the Web3 security. And on the Web3 side of things, if we go one layer deeper, the way this whole private key works is you do a bunch of trades, and that gets settled on a smart contract in our own deployment of a ZK rollup, uh, in particular a Validium that was developed by Matter Labs, and we're kind of like an instance of that, and we settle directly on Ethereum eventually. But as far as the user is concerned, they do not need to know all of this, but we obviously make this available in our documentation. So yeah, that's how we're thinking of security. uh, but I think security and trust is not limited to just having smart contract guarantees, or also not just having a 2FA or all of these different kinds of guarantees. I think uh, we also think of security in terms of regulation. So I do think, like, even for smart contract protocols, which are supposed to be secure, or which are supposed to be permissionless, there is still some kind of governance. There is sometimes even a multi-sig involved. And this is where we think regulation helps, not for the sake of it, but because we are a regulated, decentralized exchange. What happens is we have to follow all of these different regulations that the regulators have set up. And all of these regulations are not necessarily put in place to make your life more difficult, but they're put in place to have some kind of check and balance. In particular, they evaluate based on, our cybersecurity practices. They also evaluate based on how we manage our insurance fund, or they would also evaluate on how we go about listing pairs on the exchange. All of these different things also contribute to security and also contribute to the system being trustless. Uh, so, in terms of trustlessness, I'd like to go even one more layer deeper. I have already talked about the secure key being as, kind of like a guarantee that not even we can conduct transactions on your behalf. That already makes the platform trustless. But I think what builds additional trust into the platform is because we're regulated. Uh, there's some parts that of the system that just having trustless guarantees is not enough, and all of these different cybersecurity regulations that we have to comply to makes our system more secure. So this is how we're thinking about mitigating risks.
Okay. And then in terms of the security key, essentially, I'm curious, like if there's like a backup method or something, like if someone loses access to it or they can't remember what it is or how to use it, because it happens all the time in the space, obviously. Like, do you guys have a way for them to recover that, or like a process they can go through to get access again?
Yeah, I think we thought about this quite a bit as well. So one of the issues with all of these DeFi protocols is if you forget your password and you've locked money in a smart contract, and somehow you manage to lose your wallet, you've essentially lost all your assets, and we really don't want that to happen to our users. One of the reasons that centralized exchanges are so popular is they have some kind of guarantee so that you can go back to the exchange and say, oh, hey, I forgot my password. Like life happened. I forgot my 2FA keys, and they will help you if you're KYC'd. Now, we thought about balancing between security and also usability. So, while only you can sign your transactions, if you lose those keys, you've essentially lost your assets. So, how do we inform our users that, you have this self custodial guarantee, but there are also other secure keys that you can set up as your secondary secure keys, so that even if you forget your primary one, you can use your secondary secure keys in order to switch your signing secure key to be the secondary ones. So as a part of the onboarding journey, you're encouraged to, and in some cases even required to set up different layers of Web3 control, so that even if you forget like your primary security key, you can still use like your secondary ones to retrieve those assets. But obviously, I think there is a compromise that we've made, which is if you've lost access to all of these secondary secure keys and your primary secure key, then I think that's when you lose your assets. But we make it very difficult for you to get to this state. Uh, but at the same time, this is also what makes the platform self-custodial. So yeah, this is how we're thinking about security and usability.
And it's cool that you guys have thought about that because it happens to so many people, and I know so many that have been victim to it. So it's good to have those extra steps that they can take for protective purposes.
Of
And I
course.
also know that you guys are very user centric in terms of your design too. How does Gravity, simplify some of these complex things in the world of trading for both novice, but also maybe experienced users too, just to make things a bit easier, make UI simpler? What are some of those things that you guys?
So, in terms of making the user experience, better and more usable, what was very clear to us is if you want your grandmom to be using this exchange, or even if you want your friends who've never traded crypto on decentralized exchanges, our reference point should not be, DYDX, or our reference point should not be, how do I say, our reference point should not be Uniswap. Our reference point should be Coinbase. It should be as easy as using that, or even better. So there are different aspects why user experience is not optimal in DeFi, and we've tried to break it down into the particular components. So the first one is, I think wallets are very difficult to deal with. Like, people struggle to understand what asymmetric like key pairs mean. Like, people struggle to understand what wallets are. People struggle to even interact with smart contracts. So this kind of stuff we completely abstract away, and we introduce these biometric keys called secure keys that all of our users have the option to use in order to interact with the blockchain without really having to know that there's a blockchain underneath. So that's the first innovation that we already talked about. And the second one is we also reference a lot of different exchanges and brokers, and we saw how they dealt with usability and security. So inside Gravity, you do not have to sign every transaction. So you have to do essentially two kinds of logins. The first login you do is to read and write your portfolio. So which is, you log in with your 2FA and your email, and you can already see your portfolio and you can do your KYC. But after that, we introduced this term called trading logins. So what happens is, at that point, you sign with your secure key, and you do not have to sign every trade after that. So after that, there is a temporary key created for you, which is able to sign your trades for the next 4 hours. So you do not have to keep signing your trades. And this is actually something we even noticed in platforms like interactive brokers, where they have this concept of trading login. So we've obviously taken inspiration from not only decentralized exchanges, but also platforms that exist in the real world outside of crypto, and we've seen how they think about security and usability, and we've been inspired by that. So that's the second thing. The third thing we've looked at is the bridging experience. I think bridging is very, very difficult in crypto for the average person to understand, even for someone who's very accustomed in this space. A lot of people end up interacting with smart contracts that they should not necessarily interact with, or even if they know what kind of contracts they should interact with, even if they know what kind of messages they should or should not be signing, the process of signing a message itself is very, very scary. And what we realize is, every time you have to bridge assets in crypto, you have to sign messages, you have to use your wallet to do a bunch of interactions. So I think that's where we thought about making the process of onboarding money into Gravity easier. And the way we do this is by introducing this concept of what we call proxy wallets. So what happens when you log into Gravity is, you can obviously bridge as well. We give that option to people who want to sign messages and bridge directly into Gravity. But the other option we give users is, we create this address for them, and if they deposit USDT from Arbitrum into this particular address, the same amount gets reflected on Gravity. So you could be having money on Coinbase, or you could be having money on Binance, or whatever exchange you're using, and you could directly transfer to this proxy address, and the same amount is reflected in your exchange. So this is already a process that centralized exchange users are using to onboard crypto into their exchange account. So this is the way in which we're thinking about bridging. But outside of that, because we're a regulated exchange, we could do something that other decentralized exchanges cannot do, which is thinking about ways in which people can onboard money using their credit cards, or thinking about ways in which people can onboard money directly using your bank account. All of these different things we want to go out live on day two. It's not built on day one, because we're juggling a bunch of different builds. But the regulated aspect of our exchange allows for us to do this, and I think we're hoping our users will appreciate this.
Also, as demand for decentralized finance continues to grow, I'd be curious, how is Gravity positioned to really scale its infrastructure, but also accommodate a growing user base with a growing amount of trends within the DeFi space? How do you guys keep up with all that?
Yeah, sure. I think when we think of like DeFi growing and scaling for the future, we often think about a bunch of people using our exchange, or obviously onboarding these people to our exchange is a different challenge. But assuming that they've already been onboarded, there are some infrastructure challenges which blockchains are not necessarily positioned to deal with properly today. There's a bunch of issues with, like, blockchains not having enough throughput, or blockchains not being fast enough. And but as a platform that wants to provide self custodial guarantees, but also have, like, the performance guarantees of a centralized centralized exchange, we've really thought about this problem deeply. So we solve this in two ways. And the first way in which we solve this is through our order book. So our order book is centralized. So what happens is you place your orders in the order book. Obviously, you have to sign these orders, and the orders that are matched are eventually sent to the blockchain, and they're eventually settled on Ethereum as a proof. Uh, Now, this order book is designed using this library called Aaron, which is a high performance messaging system. And it's designed for reliable communication in distributed systems. And this is pretty much what all of the big exchanges outside of crypto, and maybe even some crypto exchanges, use. So, this kind of infrastructure allows our off chain order book to scale as our user base grows. Now, in terms of the settlement of the transactions, we still rely on all of these match trades to be eventually settled on Ethereum. So what's happening is, if, let's say, Brandon and I are on the opposite sides of a trade, and the matching engine matches our trades, this goes to our layer two, and the layer two takes a bunch of these different match orders, and it produces a very small proof, uh, and it posts that on Ethereum. But obviously, there's a limit to the number of in orders that can be matched and eventually settled. So, in order to deal with this, I think as the platform grows, we we're thinking that in the future, like if the platform grows so big, I think for the near term we don't see this as a problem, but in the future we can also think of horizontal scaling. So what this means is we have one app chain now where a bunch of orders get matched and settled, but we can have several app chains doing the same thing. So we kind of have this idea of like horizontal scaling for the future, assuming our user base grows. So scaling for the future over here, like, obviously assumes we have a bunch of users, but I think that's not necessarily enough. Like, we also need to think about how to scale the users themselves. Like, even if demand for crypto grows, it does not necessarily mean that demand for gravity grows. So I think as a platform, we're always thinking about how to make bridging easier, how to offer things that users want, like how to offer more trading pairs. And as a regulated exchange, we're also thinking, maybe crypto is also not the limit. uh, there's only so many assets you can trade on crypto. So if if we get the appropriate licenses, and we're already licensed from day one for this reason, we could be expanding beyond crypto, but still relying on this infrastructure that crypto provides in order to, redesign finance in some way of having this kind of blockchain settlement. So this is how we're thinking of scaling our users for a future where crypto infrastructure gains more adoption.
A little while ago, you mentioned also, places that you guys are regulated. Are you guys available globally? Are you available in the US? What jurisdictions do people have access to you guys?
I believe there's a set of jurisdictions where we're not available, where we are not available. It's available in our help center, and unfortunately, uh, we are not available in the U.S. as of now, because we do not have the appropriate licenses for the U.S. And we would only go there if there are appropriate licenses in place. So this list is maintained in our website of the number of places where the platform is not available, but already we're a global platform.
And then are you guys available on mobile, or are you guys just on desktop?
We're launching with desktop, but shortly after, we're also actually building our mobile app right now. So we plan to release our mobile app right after, or if not together. And we're thinking of ways in which we want to make the mobile app very usable. So as we were building this platform, we realized, like, the one of the reasons dexes don't have popularity is all the decentralized exchanges are web first, because they deal with wallets, and having to deal with your wallet and a mobile app is a pain. Uh, in particular, if you want to sign a transaction, you have to be redirected to a different screen, and then you have to come back. And all these different interactions are very problematic in mobile. Maybe it's easier in the web because there is a browser extension. So I think this is also where our biometric wallets come into play. Uh, it's like signing with passkeys in your mobile. You just If you want to place a trade or if you want to do a trading login on Gravity, you do not have to get out of the Gravity app. Instead, a passkey prompt is given to you, and you just scan your biometrics and bang your signatures in without you even knowing that it's a signature. So this is, I think, the most innovative aspect of our mobile app, while still having similarities to a decentralized exchange.
What assets are available on Gravity? Is it mainly the basic, well-known chains, large caps and mid caps, or do you guys also constantly bring in a new flux of tokens into your guys' exchange?
Yeah, sure. I can answer that. So I think on day one, we have a total of 11 pairs. I'm not sure if it's more or less, but it's around that number. And we're starting with all the popular coins. And we're launching as a perpetual order book. But I think the plan is always to expand beyond this. And we plan to launch our options order book. We also plan to launch, like some form of vaults to make investing easier. But on day one, as we scale and prepare our infrastructure for stability, we're launching with, I think, 10 or 11 pairs and all perps. And the usual suspects will be there, like BTC, ETH, Solana, all of these different kinds of assets.
Okay. And then what's the charting experience like? Can people run different types of studies and do some different types of analysis when they're looking at different trades? What's available to them?
I think if you go to the exchange, we the charts are like very very standard across dexes and centralized exchanges. It's your standard trading view charts, and all the kinds of analysis you can do on any popular centralized exchange, you can do this on Gravity. And you can also use our APIs in order to pull this data and do some kind of like analysis based on this data. And to add to that, I think we have a bunch of institutional clients who rely on this kind of analysis uh, to place their trades, to place their strategies. I think we've signed over like 20 clients, guaranteed clients, and I think there's more. But there's a bunch of clients who've contractually obliged to be trading in Gravity on day one, and some of these clients are even investors into the platform. So rest assured, I think all of these different tools will be available for our users.
Okay, excellent. And then what does your guys's roadmap look like for 2025? What are some key milestones you guys want to hit? Some cool updates that might be coming out? What do you want users to be aware of going into the new year?
Yeah, sure. So I think very very soon we're about to launch our Perps exchange. So if you already go to grvt.io, you can already do your KYC. So we've had a bunch of people who've already registered into the platform and who've done their KYC. Specifically, we have around 20,000 people who've already completed their KYC even before the trading pairs go live. And so that's already available in the app, but obviously the app is only usable once the exchange is live. So at this stage our testnet is already live and it's being stress tested. Like there's a bunch of audits going on, there's a bunch of security tests, penetration testing going on. The way I see the platform right now, it is already at a state where all the features are complete for the perpetuals order book to go live, but it's going under rigorous testing. So we'll go live as soon as all of those tests are deemed suitable, not only by our auditors, but also by different market makers who are onboarding into the exchange, and also when we're satisfied with the performance guarantees. And we see that this will be very, very soon. But obviously, like security comes it's at the top of our priority, and we've not seen anything that's very problematic as of now. And we will only launch the exchange when we consider it very, very secure for our users.
And then where can people go to learn more if they want to sign up and start using the exchange, but if they want to maybe dive into your guys' community a bit? Are you guys on social media? Do you have Telegram, Discord? Where do you want to send people?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do would be to go to grvt.io and do the KYC. And once you sign up inside grvt.io, there's also a link to our testnet, which is testnet.grvt.io. So that's where you get a sneak peek into what the exchange is going to look like in its existing form, and you can mint mock tokens and try testing out Gravity. So that's on the that's around the functionality of the exchange. In terms of the community aspect of the exchange, we're on Twitter as GRVT_IO, where we regularly post our updates. Where we have a Discord group, we have a Telegram group for people who want to engage with these kind of forms of social media. And in addition to that, under grvt.io, we've launched a bunch of rewards programs. We've also launched a bunch of tasks and partnerships with, other platforms and to engage our community. So you can also do all of these different things to interact with the platform at the moment.
Awesome. Alaukik, thank you so much for taking the time to come on today and really highlight what you guys are doing with Gravity. I think you guys have an awesome exchange. I think you guys are doing some amazing things, especially when it comes to security, but also when it comes to keeping it, simplified and user-centric. So I'm excited to see how you guys grow and, what you guys have in store coming into the new year. So keep me updated, man, and let's do another episode in the near future.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for the time, Brandon, and thanks everyone for tuning in. It was a very good experience, and we look forward for your feedback.